Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It is once again time for the WADcast, episode number
A lot.
69. It's episode number 69, dude.
No, okay. Well, I'm not going to make a joke.
I already put it in the title.
No, okay. I didn't see the title.
No, you didn't. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and the other guy talking is something,
What's up?
something, something, Brandon.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday.
It is Friday, so that means it's time for the WADcast writers, actors, directors, and all of those jobs on the side in between. We talk about productions, we talk about stories, we talk about everything when it comes to film and television. But we are kind of flying by the seat of our pants tonight here, so I I think it's time to talk about that topic.
Well, it's episode 69, so are we talking about sex scenes in movies?
Yes,
Sweet.
nailed it, and that might have been pun intended. I'm not sure yet.
Let's just go with pun intended.
So tonight it's all about sex. Is that weird?
Are you still like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. God, you're perverted. I was making a joke.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So,
only appropriate for the inappropriate episode number to talk about something considered inappropriate, right?
I mean, like, listen, my boundaries are few and far between. So, when it comes to what we discuss on here, my comfort level is much higher than most other people's. So, I'm good with
That's
whatever.
true. That is true. Um, but here are some of the more interesting aspects of this particular topic. There are a lot of rules when it comes to what you can and can't put in certain ratings, for one. I don't think that's any surprise there. Context means a lot. Like you can tell someone to get effed and it's okay, but if you show someone getting effed, it's a hard R. There are a lot of different ways that directors have handled this particular type of scene over the years. There is the classic starting out with a kiss and then slowly dipping below camera frame versus hey, wide angle, we're showing everything,
Oh
and
yeah.
and of course versus the super super close ups of more adult oriented material. So these scenes, sex scenes, I'm just going to say it, really run the table as far as what gets shown and what they mean, whether it's completely gratuitous or, in fact, something really meaningful to a story.
There's actually this one while you're talking about that, this reminds me there was actually a movie on Amazon Prime. Um, saw it last year, I think, when I was working in a COVID unit. Because like at one point I only had one patient. Like at one day, all last year I had one patient in a COVID unit, and so I have ample downtime for like 16 hours. I have all this downtime because you only like, in healthcare you work with these patients in these units for as quick as possible, make sure they have everything, and then you're only to go in there as needed. And this patient, had their own bathroom, everything else. They did everything themselves. I just needed to give them their like food, and that was really it. Um, so like in my downtime, I was like just like playing on Amazon Prime, like just trying to find things to watch to cure my 16 hours worth of boredom. I will say this one film I was watching. Um, there was this sex scene in this film, and I wish I could like remember the name of it so I could actually like drop it on the show and like that way people could see what I'm talking about. But this sex scene looked way too real. Like you know that like it's not like a secret that there's usually like a barrier between the actor and actress and stuff like that. It's like a very common thing to have like some kind of barrier between the two of them and simulated sex for the movie. This looked very real. Um, it's not like you saw anything, but it's just this actress was a very, very good actress, and it was like a small independent film. I looked at the information on this movie, and it was they were having real sex on camera, like in while filming this movie, they were having very real sex. I'm like, wow, I
Do,
didn't.
do you remember
People,
what the MPAA rating was, if it was rated at all?
yeah, it was. I don't think there was any rating because it was just like released straight to Amazon Prime. It's very much like with Bad Agent, how it's on Amazon Prime, but the MPAA has never really seen it.
Hmm.
There's really no rating system for it. Yeah, I don't think it ever like went that far. It's just like it just caught me off guard. But there are actually movies though where the actors involved are having sex on camera.
Yeah, it's
It has
happened on more
happened.
than one occasion.
Oh yeah, it's happened quite a few times actually, and that was something I never really know I never knew about until a couple of years back. Um, hell, like that girl, I forget Chloe Savigny. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She was in Kids, American Psycho. She played um, Christian Bale's, I believe, like secretary. Um, there's a movie that she was in with a director boyfriend of hers, and she was actually performing fellatio on him on camera. And like not suggestive, like it showed her, going down to Chowtown on him, like
Okay.
whipping that chode out and just like just gobbling it up. I mean, they actually just showed it on camera. I'm like, oh, okay, I was not expecting this.
Well,
I
that brings up a topic that I'd like to get to later.
Okay.
So by the end of this whole thing, I would like to have that discussion of what's the difference between, you know, an art film and just porn. So that's something I'd like to close the show with.
A whole bunch of fake moaning,
Maybe budget. I don't know.
over
We'll
the
get to
top
it. We'll
fake
get to it.
moaning and dirty talk.
We will get to it. But in the meantime,
Hey, you picked the topic, man.
well, I didn't want to shy away from the number of the episode. So TeeHee, as the title says. Let's take this to the writers' room.
Okay.
Let's start out with the conception, the, the conception of putting a love scene or a sex scene in a film or TV show.
I've written a
Um,
few.
First of all, why would somebody put in a scene that could instantly take away a large portion of the audience?
Okay. Well, in my experiences, anytime I've ever had to write anything related to a sexual encounter in a script, and I think I have two scripts where I've written like a sex scene in. I keep it suggestive. Like when I write stuff like that, I try to keep in mind like the actress. If it gets like there's an old rule of thumb when it comes to writing. No one writes a script without expectations of it getting made at some point. We're all hopeful that what we're writing is going to get made, right? So when you are writing, you write to film, you shoot to edit. So I try to keep in mind, be realistic with them, be like, okay, well, if this gets made, would the actress be uncomfortable with this scene? So no nudity, like so I'm not going to have any nudity, but I'm also going to try and make it to where it's very suggestive. I think Groomsmen, there's a scene that and it carries the plot forward. Um, but there's a scene where a character brings him a bartender, and there's some like camera flashes and everything else, and then there's whatever. Most of it's in the dark and just giggling, I guess, like the girl giggling, and then like a moan, and that's really it. The original version of it, like that 23-year-old me wrote, I'll tell you right now, was nowhere near as calm. They get like broken lamps and windows and everything else, but then just kind of tone it back.
Okay, so like anything that would go into a script, you would put something in there as long as it moves the story forward. It's not going to be gratuitous, right?
Nope, never. Yeah, I mean it's not like one of those old cheesy action films where there's like two characters that have hated each other the entire time, and all of a sudden they're just like shoving. Sorry, all of a sudden they're just shoving their tongues down each other's throats, and big old boobies bouncing on the camera for whatever reason.
Okay, so you already kind of touched on this next part. When you made the decision that it's necessary to put in a scene like this in a script,
Yeah,
there are any number of ways to describe the action going on, whether it's kind of a in-depth, play-by-play, or whether it's something a little more ambiguous that somebody else down the line is actually going to get paid to choreograph. I
yeah,
kind of look at it the same way as like an action scene. You, I personally would maybe put a few bullet points if it's important, important beats to the to the action. But for the most part, there's if it's not something that I'm going to be making myself, there will be somebody else that actually deals with the details and the like I said, the choreography of the scene. So I'm not saying any particular way is the right way to go. I think if you're looking for a super fast public sale, maybe you don't write out like a explicit hardcore love session. I'm trying to keep things a little bit PG-13 here, but on the same note, you don't have to avoid any details whatsoever. Just kind of that middle of the road. Hey, this is what happens, and because my character is this, maybe he does this and this. Because my character is this, maybe she does this and this. Let's unless you're filming it yourself, let somebody else handle those details. And all right, we wrote the movie, and it's got brilliant scenes. It's got a love scene in there, and it's time to film. You're directing. You're the director. It's time to film.
yeah.
Question: This is a term that I've actually heard about recently. An intimacy coordinator.
Oh yeah, yeah. They usually work on like closed sets and everything else.
That kind of blew my mind that there was somebody on set explicitly for the purposes of helping make the love scenes come together, whether they're talking about emotions or positions or certain things that are simulated and quite frankly certain things that are um, prosthetic, as
Yeah.
uh, somebody once told me, and it was surprising to me, absolutely surprising to me that somebody's job is to show the actors how to do it. Mind-boggling. I assumed everyone already knew, but of course, if you know how to dance, it doesn't mean you're ready to be in a musical, right?
No, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into. I mean, mind you, you got to think of like the comfort of the actors involved, like the actress, things of that nature. I mean, it's
You know what? Let's do back this up just a second because you've already mentioned a couple of times the comfort of the actress involved, and I assume you also want the actor to be comfortable when you're not trying to state solely that only one person has to be comfortable. But for statement of fact, you have an actor or actress, and they read the script and they're not comfortable with it.
yeah.
I think the first question is, do you hire that person?
Well, I mean, it's like I think that you need to be careful. I mean, like, listen, there are situations where you have like where I've read about like actresses that signed on to something only to then come back and say like I was not comfortable the entire time of filming this. I mean, it's happened. Um,
I don't remember who it was, but there was a story recently where somebody signed on for a project, and when it came time to do that particular scene, they're like, "No, I won't do it," and the the project just got somebody else to do it. And she had a name. I don't remember who it was, but I remember knowing who it was. And they said, "Oh, they just got some basically some random actress to take over her role because that actress was willing to do what the star wouldn't."
yeah.
And there was a lawsuit. I wish I remember the details of this, but is it? I really don't want to say is it right because after all, you signed on for something. It's not like you just got the script on that day.
Yeah.
You know it was coming up, and unless unless there were some like major discrepancies with what was negotiated versus what the director wanted to do, it's kind of hard to take up for someone that knew what they were getting into.
Yeah. Absolutely.
After all, up until that point, that is a lot of time. That is a lot of money that a studio producer has put into one particular person. And when everything gets held up, or if somebody gets replaced at the last second, suddenly everything you did before with that person has to be done again.
Yeah.
And it is a massive time and money sink that really you can't blame a studio for being upset if they have to do. But at the same time, I will also say that anytime an actor or actress feels like they're being, for lack of a better term, exploited or framed in a way they are very uncomfortable, it is their absolute right to walk away, no matter what contract is written.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like there's no sense in being part of a project if you're not comfortable being in it. Um, like you don't have to Katherine Heigl the situation, like work through the entire project and then be like, oh well, it didn't respect women the entire time. Like, well, you okay? All the behind the scenes photos show that you were having a great time there, but okay, whatever. But yeah, like yeah, if you're not comfortable with something, if it's something that's really not your cup of tea, yeah, don't be in it. Like, and there are actors and actresses that have backed out of projects because they were just simply uncomfortable, and there are actors that don't do any like sex scenes or love scenes, or even so much as kissing on camera. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about Kirk Cameron. I'm talking about like I forget the guy's name. He's a he's usually like a supporting actor. Um, but he's been in a lot of movies. He's been like in Captain America. He's been in Sonic the Hedgehog. He played M Bison in that Chun Li Street Fighter movie. Um, He was also like the big bad guy in Dwayne Johnson's Walking Tall. I can't remember his name, but he's married, very happily married. So in any film he's in, he won't even so much as kiss another woman. So now I don't remember the guy's name, but he's been in a lot of stuff. But you have actors and actresses that like really respect the sanctity of their marriages and whatnot, that they don't get involved with things like that. But when you have other actors and actresses that, like, I guess as you put it, like, get the script and they read the script, the only time I can really understand them walking is when a script is changed without the actor's knowledge. Which, Christ, look at the history of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are actors that didn't even bother reading the lines because of how often the script is being changed. So,
I believe
when
you're
you're
talking about Neil McDonough.
that's it, yes. Hey, he's a really great actor, really cool guy. I've met him a few times. He's actually a really cool guy.
One of my
It's
favorite
one of
parts
those.
of Arrow.
He was an Arrow.
Yeah, he was one of the main bads for years.
See, are you talking about like the Green Arrow series on the CW?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never watched a single episode. No, but it's like, I mean, I loved his interaction with Jim Carrey and Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I thought that was hysterical. But I mean, coming back to it though, is like you have scripts that are changed constantly, so I can understand if the script is like if an actress reads a script and, like, okay, there is a quick, like, a kissing session. It's supposed to lead to her coming out of the room the next shot, like buttoning up like a shirt or something like that. Like, to suggest that they just had sex. I can get that. And then when she gets to set, she finds out that they changed the script, so now there might be a nude scene involved. That's messed up.
That is messed up.
Like, I mean,
It
it's
is unprofessional, to say the least. I mean, rewrites happen all the time, but something that drastic where you expect it to go from buttoning up a shirt to, okay, and now you're naked. That's
yeah.
It's not cool.
Yeah, no, it doesn't respect the person playing the character at all. But I mean, things like this have happened. I mean, it's anything that you can think of that can happen in the film industry. What I'm talking about, these things do happen, and they happen a lot. I mean, look at what's the movie The Room with Tommy Wiseau. That one girl was like, the girl who played Lisa was not expecting to be nude on camera. Like, what she read in the script versus what ended up happening on the day of shooting were night and day.
You know what? Let me stop you right there for a second, because I think this is a thread that should definitely be pulled, and it is one of those things that absolutely makes me cringe every time I see it play out. It is when the writer, the director, and the lead are all the same person, right? And guess who has a love scene? Guess who's in charge of casting?
Who's that?
To me, that always screams kind of a creepy when the writer, the actor, and the director are all the same person,
Yeah.
because they have control of every aspect of what's going on.
Oh yeah. And it's just like, it's one of those deals where, I mean, like, if you've never seen The Room, that lovemaking scene was probably the most awkward lovemaking scene I've ever watched in any movie in my life. It's like he was. It's like he's showing
by someone that doesn't know the mechanics of sex. Period.
I don't think he's ever had sex. I honestly, like, I think, like, with Tommy Wiseau, it's like he was trying to install a new umbilical cord.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's just like it was bad. It was really bad. So But yeah, it's like, but that's what I'm getting at though. It's like it's one of those deals where, um, you have to be careful of how it's shot and how it's written. But
There's one movie in particular that always comes to mind when talking about, like these things, writer, actor, director, star kind of deals. Are you familiar with Neil Breen?
what's that?
Are you familiar with Neil Breen?
Sounds familiar.
Well, he's got he's made movies. Um, that's being very very generous with the term there. One in particular called Fateful Findings. By the way, you have to watch it. It's on YouTube. You shouldn't have a problem finding it. Fateful Findings. Every time he's hooking up with someone, or should I say his character is hooking up with someone, my only thought is this the only way this stuff happens for him? Is to pay actresses to do it in front of a camera? Because this is so awkward and bad. And I'm not saying he has ill intent or he's doing it for that purpose. I wouldn't make accusations like that, but it is kind of awkward to see this guy. I'm not sure how old he is. Got to be, I don't know, 50, and his young co-stars are, you know, not, and the female characters always seem to really be into his character. I couldn't do it. If I'm casting myself as a lead, I'm not, you know, going to make sure I have someone to make out with on camera. That's awkward. It's
Well, yeah, I
unusual.
mean, well,
I
like I
get
said, like
creeped
it
out
all
just
comes
thinking
down to
about it,
like,
man.
but it all comes down to the ego. That's what I was saying. Like with Tommy Wiseau, it's all about like that ego. Like they need, like they think sex sells, and sex does in fact sell in movies.
It does. It does. Sort of. I I think the last time that I heard any kind of hubbub and any kind of talk about a love scene in a movie was probably, let's see, the only one that comes to mind is Blue is the Warmest Color.
No, I don't know about that one.
If I'm not mistaken, it is a French film
Oh, okay.
that was very well known for its long um, lesbian scene, very graphic. That's kind of its one of its claims to fame. I never got around to checking it out, but yeah, that's the only one I can really think of that has caused any kind of stir. You got the classic. You got Boogie Nights. You heard about some of the scenes from that. Other than that, no, it's not really a main topic of conversation. Not since the '80s, anyway, where sometimes maybe it was just me. We watch these R-rated comedies just for the chance of seeing one of these scenes. What, just me?
Well, no, like when, like no, like listen, um, I'm a straight guy. Tits are amazing. Ass is amazing. Sex scenes in movies are like hot. Like they get really hot. But the thing is at the same time, like there's a way to go about it. Like from a professional standpoint, there is a way to go about and be respectful. And like I said earlier, sex does sell when it comes to scripts. Like I think when I was in film school, my writing professor was talking about the kinds of movies at the time. This is like 2006, 2007, 2008. Things that sell really well as far as scripts go, and things in scripts that make them very marketable. Now, of course, by today's standards, things have very much changed in the last 15 years, 15 14, 15 years. Um, but at the time, boobs were a big thing that sold scripts. Just having a woman walk around topless in the scene, like, oh yeah, this will sell. Like, just whatever. Like action movies. I think at the time, action and horror were two things that sold. Like, no, I'm sorry, horror and comedy are the two biggest sellers. Excuse me. But in these movies, a lot of them, there usually is. Like, look at American Pie. If you've ever read the script for American Pie, it is stupid. The script for The Hangover was okay, but it was still just it's nothing like what you see in the movies. And we've discussed this in prior episodes. Difference between what is on the page versus what makes it on screen. But like American Pie, with the whole foreign exchange student just like Dan like being topless in a room and him filming her, like Gina would never, ever get made today. What do you call it? That was one of the selling points in the script. I mean, him screwing a pie, a sex scene with a pie, is something that really, whatever. Hell, even talking about sex, Clerks. Okay. I think the people that decided to roll with Clerks, it was passed on at first. Like, I mean, like, I think Harvey Weinstein, he didn't want to even watch Clerks. He was over it within the first 10 minutes of the film. It was stupid. He didn't want to watch any more of it. But then his assistant watched the movie and went back to him and said, you have to see this movie. And it was because of the 27 dicks line. And it's like, my girlfriend sucked 27 dicks. And one guy's like, in a row? 37. Like, 37 dicks. The guy's like, in a row? So, like, even like mentions of sex sell.
Wait, am I 36?
Oh,
37?
I'm 37.
Hey, get back here.
I mean, I love Kevin Smith, but I look at Clerks. I'm happy for Clerks because it spawned his career. But at the same time, I still look at Clerks today as being relatively borderline unwatchable. But it was, of course, a product of its time, and it was something that was brilliantly shot, considering the budget that he had to work with and the time in which he was able to film. But the point being is that just the mention of sex in films can actually be done in a way that can really kick off a laugh and really gain more interest in further watching. But then let's go to the Lethal Weapon movies. Okay, tons of sex in those movies, tons. If not sex, tons of gratuitous nudity, plenty of that. I mean, I think didn't Lethal Weapon 1 start with a topless girl in a robe jumping off of a balcony?
Yeah, it did.
Like, that was that was the opening scene of the very first Lethal Weapon movie. Then Lethal Weapon 2, you had the German girl that Riggs hooks up with. But yeah, you have there's there's oh god, I lost my train of thought. There are a lot of things that people I guess say, or I'm sorry, that people put into the put into movies, and you have to ask yourself, was this really needed? And again, I have to go back to The Room. Now, with this French film that you're talking about, I've never even heard of it. So I'm going to assume that it's like, as you put it, very, very, very graphic sex scene between two women.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, like, what, like, I mean, was it like, you say it was graphic? Like, I mean, was it graphic as in like the Black Swan, where you have Mila Kunis going down on Natalie Portman,
I
or
told you
was
I
it
ain't
like,
seen it, man.
huh?
I said I haven't seen it, man. But if I need to tune
Oh,
in,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about like, I'm sorry, I missed the part where you say you haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
it would be the the first time I've watched something for a podcast. That's for sure. Okay,
We've watched other things for the sake of a podcast before.
no, let me tell you about this little show called Scop from back in the day. It was the very first Semicore Studios podcast, and yeah, I'm going to tell the story. Kevin and I, we did Scop on a weekly basis. It was all things pop culture as fans, and right around that time, the hype for Batman versus Superman was really kicking into high gear. Kevin had a class project, and he wanted to get my thoughts from watching the Batman versus Superman trailer for the first time, and some of it was kind of in a character, and most of it was. Well, let's just, you know what? I'll find the video and see if I can post it in the comments or something. No, I'll share it to the Facebook page. Anyway,
Yeah.
one of one of the things we got to talking about was, okay, we got Batman versus Superman coming out, and I was on the whole it doesn't look good train, but mostly
No.
because they basically showed so much in the trailer, including Doomsday. It's like, why is Doomsday in this movie? Two, why are they showing it in the trailer? It didn't make any sense to me. That was kind of the whole giveaway. Oh, I guess they're doing the death of Superman.
Yep.
Why am I seeing this in a trailer? And I digress. Anyway, the thought came along is like somebody has to do a good version of this, right? And the conversation led to, yeah, the porn version's probably going to be better.
Yeah.
And after 10 seconds of research, we found out that there already was one. Uh, a parody was made basically immediately. So it was given to me as an assignment.
Yeah.
Like, you have to watch this movie and then report back on whether it was as good as or better than Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman.
Well, I mean, like, to
So
say Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman was even good to begin with is just kind of like a stretch.
so I watched it.
Was it better? I mean, I can't imagine. Like, I mean, I think The Room is better than Batman vs Superman.
It was better.
See, doesn't
I
take
I
much.
I, I even suggested on the follow-up episode where I gave my review that if they cleaned it up, took out all of the explicit content, all of the reasons why people watch, those movies, that it could actually be a passable version of this idea for wide audiences because it had so many more elements of The Dark Knight Returns. It had so much more actual characters being represented from the comics and not just
Now,
this is my interpretation of
now, where did
Superman.
you find this?
the internet.
No, like what? Like it was on YouTube.
No. I actually had to go someplace to watch this adult film. Not like go someplace in real life with a bunch of other guys. Uh, no, no. I found a website that offered it, and then I watched it. Did a lot of fast forwarding because I
Mm.
had a review to get through, and I wasn't about to review every position and this and that. It was mostly about, okay, how are the characters being portrayed? Uh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Is the plot any good? By the way, yes. And is it true to the characters as they
Oh
have
god.
been in comics for decades? And again, the answer was yes. It was, in my opinion, a superior version of Batman versus Superman than Zack Snyder came up with. And spoilers, um, they stopped fighting at the end thanks to Wonder Woman. Yeah, I'm not really going to go into any more detail than that.
So they team up with Wonder Woman, quote unquote team up with or on
Yes,
before they fight together. Oh, so they team up on Wonder Woman before they team up with Wonder Woman.
sure.
That's awesome. But the thing is, like, I mean, it's I don't know. There's see, like, there's a fine line. Like, I mean, I will say this, at least like when it comes to certain films, when there is like sex involved, you know, coming off the Zack Snyder thing, like I will say, Zack Snyder, he's got some beautiful visions. Um, his movies are aesthetically beautiful. They really are. Um, but it's Zack Snyder directing. So, but there are other movies that have come out, like you know, Danielle pointed out, like, what was it, Last Tango in Paris with Marlon Brando. That movie had, like, I've seen that movie, like, I had to watch it a few times back in film school. That has some graphic, violent sex in it. You have that Secretary with like what's her face, Gyllenhaal. But you have God, Brokeback Mountain. There's some movies with
Yeah,
graphic sex that don't have nudity. Um, but then you have things like 50 Shades of Grey and Dakota Johnson's flat ass acting. Like, I mean, I feel like watching 50 Shades of Grey was like watching a woman that could not sing trying to sing a karaoke for like 2 hours.
sounds like my viewing of the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like she just looked bored. I mean, it's like, I mean, you know what you signed up for. I mean, like, if I mean, I personally, I'm not attracted to Dakota Johnson. I don't think she's attractive. Um, but watching 50 Shades of Grey, I'm like, okay, well, I'm more attracted to the dude now than I am to her. And I'm like, I mean, that's just like, that's hard even for me to say that. Like, I mean, the guy's more attracted to me than Dakota Johnson was because at least he has some passion. Um, but it's just like, it's one of those deals where um, there are these scenes where actors and actresses, and it goes back to like what I was saying, like with that movie on Amazon Prime, where they were actually having legitimate sex on camera. Um, there are these movies where these actors and actresses are really engaging with each other. What was it? There was a movie with Angelina Jolie, which surprised she was nude in this movie.
Tomb Raider.
No, not Tomb Raider, but Angelina, thank you for Tomb Raider. Um, there was a movie with her and Antonio Banderas where I can't remember the name of it, but there was a lot of chemistry between them already. Like, I mean, they are really good friends in the real world. They were friends before this movie. But at least like this had a point to it. It wasn't just gratuitous, um, like sex for no reason. It was it was all part of the actual plot of the movie. If I remember right, I believe um, it was something like she was like they were either one of them was trying to swindle the other person, or they were both trying to do it. So there's a point behind the scene. But the only time I really can't stand watching a movie when there's a sex scene, like of course, like this is coming from like 39-year-old me, is when there's no point to that scene. Like I'm watching this movie, like why is this even happening? Like Bad Grandpa, he's got his dick stuck in his soda machine. There's a point to that at least. Like I mean, he's a horny old dude, but chasing Amy, like the sex scenes like that are in it, like the brief flashes you have of the sex scenes. Um, like I mean, you know there's reasons for these. But there's like watching certain movies where there's like just like this random out of nowhere sex scene. You ever hear that this movie American Samurai?
Sounds familiar.
Um, so I think it's either American Samurai or American Ninja, but like the protagonist is like this guy that's got long black hair, really buff dude. He's a cop, long black hair, really buff dude. It's like a movie from the 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there. Um, and his partner, like this is like his partner is like just like they're in a hospital, like checking up on a patient, and this nurse comes up to him, and out of nowhere, like I don't even know where the scene came from. Out of nowhere, the nurse comes up to him. She says, "Do you think I'm attractive?" He says, "Yes." "Would you like to date me?" "Yes." "And here's my one per episode, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like to fuck me?" And this is in a hospital. He's there on assignments. A picks up her stethoscope and says, "Bingo." And she just reaches down, grabs his groin. She's like, "I need something bigger." I'm like, is this an action film or is this like a cheesy ass porno? Then of course it leads to the sex scene eventually. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess this is a build up, and then it's a one off. It led nowhere. I'm like, the hell did I just watch? Like that's never happened to me in a hospital when I was visiting somebody. But yeah, there's a point behind all this rambling. I can't remember what it was. It happens a lot to me.
Yeah, but it's been known to
Oh, that's right.
happen in old age.
That's right. The pointlessness behind certain scenes. Like I mean, it's like you can tell when something is just gratuitous because the director, as you like, like the director just wants to see tits and ass on screen. Um, and I believe like the guy that played the protagonist, and that he wasn't a director, but he was one of the producers on it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was actually his idea. Now, I don't have the laptop cracked up to look up on this, but the Marlon Brando movie I mentioned, I believe actually like a lot of that. Marlon Brando was infamous for doing things unscripted. He is very infamous, like like in his time of acting, for doing so many scenes and going off script because he thought something would be better. So, Last Tango in Paris, I believe, like with some of the sex scenes in that, he actually did things that the actress was unaware of. Um, I'm sorry, what?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. So it's hard for me to pick up on this thread because I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to begin with. But I will fill this particular segment with a RadioTimes.com article talking to Mia Schachter. Um, nope. We're going to talk with Yehuda Duenas. At least I
Okay.
think. Anyway, it's a RadioTimes.com article talking to intimacy coordinators. And Yehuda talks about what's in his kit. If you are at all familiar with any kind of filmmaking, then you know there are a lot of jobs and a lot of kits involved in making anything when it comes to film and television. So this is what an intimacy coordinator has in his kit. It's it's a list of items here, and yeah, let's check it out. First, we have nippies or nippets to cover an actor's areola.
Oh yeah.
So you can get 99% of the way there. Then you have merkins. Do you know what a merkins is? I'm just going to give you the term, see if you can guess what it means. Merkin. What's a
It's a
merkin?
hairpiece. Yeah, it's a hairpiece for the groin.
Yes,
It's like a
a
toupee
pubic
for the. It's
wig,
like a. It's yeah. Yep.
often used for period pieces or weird terminology there, or for actresses who want much more coverage of their pubic area. How about
Yeah.
a hibu or a shibu?
That I'm not too familiar with.
It is a strapless thong that sticks to an actor's pelvis, which acts as a barrier that prevents genitalia from touching.
See, I learned I learned what a merkin was when some kid called me a merkin back in high school. I didn't know what the hell a merkin was. And then when he called me a merkin, I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty fucking good.
Hats off. Hats off.
I learned
What
a new
about
word, Mom.
what about a vajoga?
Oh God. Would you like to tell people what a vajoga is? I don't. I'm gonna let you just like tell people what these things are.
Okay. A vajoga is a yoga mat for genitalia, used as a genital barrier when two bodies are grinding against each other.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen, when I said that there's always something between there's usually something between the actor and actress when there's a sex scene.
Then we have
Usually.
swim shapers, used for nipple covers or as a barrier to cover female genitalia. Then you have, for
This is a
practical
weird ass
purposes,
episode, man.
mints and gum. Intimacy coordinator has mints and gum. Very considerate. Heat pads to keep actors warm between takes. After all, they're very not clothed. Flesh-colored underwear. That's pretty self-explanatory. Aloe vera, because sometimes those modesty garments, as they're called, get irritating. So you got to put the aloe on there. You got to put the lotion on the skin. Bright green tape, so the cameraman knows the actor's boundaries. So in other words, hey, we're gonna tape up some body parts here, and it's gonna look really weird if the camera captures that particular area because it's supposed to be off limits.
Yep.
Um, Evian water spray and glycerin for creating the impression of beads of sweat. Penis cups, an X-Acto knife, just in case you have to, do any alterations to any of the previously mentioned things. Scissors, marker, alcohol prep pads, and of course, gaffer tape.
Yep.
Okay, that last one's not on there, but if you're on a set, I don't care what your job is, you should have gaffer tape on you at all times. So
Yeah,
one of
this
the
is.
things. No, go ahead.
I was going to say this is just such a weird episode, man. I was not prepared for this episode at all tonight.
Neither was I. Yet here we are. But one of the things that I also saw on this particular article from RadioTimes.com is that a typical prep day or a typical shooting day for an intimacy coordinator is, it's just like a regular old day on set, except you're a little more detailed with some of the things you're going over. It says typical day for a typical prep day. Start off, call the director, find out what they want in the scene and what nudity is required. Then you call the first actor, and then they talk about the nudity boundaries in depth. So the actor gets a voice in what they want and don't want to show. Then you call the next actor, and so on and so forth, depending on how many people are in the scene, I suppose. Then you send an email to the production, I assume the production company, with what everybody's been saying, so they know what to expect. And then you contact wardrobe to get whatever needs to be done, followed by a call to makeup, just in case tattoos need to be covered up. And then at the end, you write up the requirements, the nudity writers, as it says here. And then on the day of shooting, you arrive on set, you go over everybody's writers to see, what's expected of them and what they are comfortable with. Then they choreograph everything, block it out. Usually, this is a closed set from what I'm reading, only essential cast and crew present. And basically, they're trying to get they want to make sure everybody is as comfortable as possible. That's why they go over in detail what each other is allowed to do. It almost seems like, and it's going to sound like a weird comparison, but I swear to you it's relevant. It almost seems like a wrestling match.
You're damn
where,
wrestling.
where one, you have to have complete trust in the person that you're doing a scene with. And once you establish the boundaries, once you explain that I'm cool with this, but I'm not cool with this, then other than where you are and what position you're in, since that has to be done for the camera, as far as focus and lighting and everything, it seems like the rest of it's kind of calling it in the ring. We're just going to go at it under these specific stipulations, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And that's how they do it. Brandon, we got a comment? You want to?
Oh, I got nothing. Stacks of movie magic. Oh, first off, hi Kevin, welcome to the show. Stacks of movie magic knowledge, really informal program. Oh, thank you. Trust me, I'm getting informed on a few things tonight. So, oh man, like I said, I was not prepared for this at all. Otherwise, I would have gladly had like some notes and some talking points ready to go to like discuss certain aspects of things. Because like there are a lot of things that happen in the film industry that are really messed up. And like me, I like to talk about the more messed up aspects of things when it comes to where people drop the ball and stuff like that. And it happens a lot. So it's just like I really wish I was more prepared for this. Yeah. But yeah, I really I got nothing else to be honest with you.
Okay, then let's go to the topic that we teased at the top of the show. What is the difference between the film and porn?
Uh, well, one usually is guided by story, and the other one is pretty much guided by sex.
So what you're saying is, and someone actually can use that debate where they're filming really, really racy stuff, where it's practically indistinguishable from an adult film, purely on what happens between the scenes,
Oh yeah, I mean it's
between
like
the
I
adult
mean
scenes.
okay. Let me like rephrase this here. Going back to 50 Shades of Grey, that was
Hmm.
nothing more to me than like just like a stupid ass Cinemax movie. I've seen Cinemax movies that were better than 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, the Bear Witch Project was better than 50 Shades of Grey. I'm sorry, no, the Bear Wench Project, I think it was called. Um,
Is that a
and this is
pirate
something I
one?
saw when I was. This is something I saw when I was in high school on Cinemax. Um,
We all
but it's
remember
just like,
Cinemax.
it's just like 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, there was story, but like, I mean, it was just nothing but like a soft core porn to me. That's all it was. Like where there's no entry, no nothing. It's all just like, whatever. But no, it's like when you're watching, like the big difference between film and like actually watching a narrative film and porn is that people don't fast forward on a narrative film to get to the sex scenes one after the other, after the other, after the other. Um, like Showgirls, yeah, there's sex in it, but like I mean, there's a lot of gratuitous nudity in
I've
Showgirls.
only seen the version on TBS.
Okay, well then you know what? Then you saved yourself a lot of a headache of Elizabeth Berkley trying to be a deep actress, I guess. But
A lot of
there
CGI
are
bikinis. It was weird.
really that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's funny. But no, it's like, but I mean, you watch these other films, you watch other movies. People watch these movies for like the plot, like they watch them for the actual, like, where's this movie going to go? Um, Now with porn, people watch these because they have their favorite adult actresses or actors, whatever, bearing it all and going heels to Jesus. I mean, of what different directions and everything else. Let's see, like the chocolate starfish bouncing around, whatever. Like people watch these movies for numerous reasons, none of which are related to the story.
Read the comments,
I'm
David.
sorry, I don't think that my stepmommy stuck in the dryer is a feasible story to carry an entire movie plot.
Well, that's a scene plot, not a film plot,
But yeah, it's like
from
it's
what
just
I'm
like
told.
it's. I mean, it's just. I mean, there's and like like I have nothing against porn. I don't care. Like you watch porn, you watch porn. You get off on porn, you get off on porn. Who cares? You do your thing. Like I mean, just you let your little freak flag fly. I don't care. But
Hmm.
when it comes to like certain things, like no one ever sit. I, I cannot recall a single time outside of me and my buddies sending each other messed up porn, but we had to actually find movies that had narrative to it. And we would send these movies to each other just like as a running gag. I've seen Alice in Bonerland. I've that movie is hysterical. Um, I sent him a an adult version of Twilight. We've already broken plenty of MPAA rules on the show in the past, so I'm just going to okay, in Twilight, I've only seen the actual movie with Twilight one time. Um, but when he reveals his skin to like Becca, whatever her name is, um, and he's all sparkling and everything else because he's made of marble. Um, it's just like that. Okay, so in like the Twilight series, that is a thing. Like, okay, well, these vampires, I guess, are made of marble because that's not stupid at all.
No,
So they
well, I've never
sparkle in
seen
the
them.
sunlight. Now in the adult version, again, I'm breaking a few ratings laws here. Not that we're ever going to be like big time on the show, but still, the hell with it. The guy playing the future Batman's role, um, he's standing in the sunlight and he whips out a schlong. And this girl's staring at it and he says, "You see this? This is the cock of a killer." And she's over here, like, hands in her, like, face, like, "Oh, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." I'm like, well, at least there's a narrative to this movie.
Okay, I'm tapping out. Read the comments.
Okay. All right. So, Kevin, see my grandma watching Spartacus and similar felt like she was watching porn. Watching that porn again, Nana? I tease Game of Thrones and a lot of these new shows, sex dominates, which they do. And then it says Scooby, quote unquote, do. Like, but it's just, and there's, you know what? Show me a Scooby Doo porn. Show me a Scooby, not with the dog, but like, just like where they're trying to solve a mystery. And like Velma gets stuck in a refrigerator or something. I don't know. Or Daphne like falls
I'm
down
pretty
and
sure
she
it
can't
exists.
get up. Or I
In
have
fact, I
no
can
doubt.
guarantee you it exists.
Oh, I can't guarantee a damn thing. I don't sit down and watch like looking up Scooby Doo porn because of my luck, the worst kind of Scooby Doo porn would come up involving a Great Dane. I don't want to see that. But
Why am
it's
I
like the thing
laughing?
is,
That's just
like, I mean, I don't
oh,
I don't need to see Scooby and Shaggy spending some quote unquote quality time together. But it's like the
zoinks.
thing is, yeah, zoinks. Like the thing is, like, there's going back to your question, like no one watches porn for the narrative. I don't think I'm sure Alice in Bonerland was created because the guy had a different vision. I know that like people who direct porn, I'm not going to say they're not real directors because they are directing. Um,
Axel
but what do
Braun
you call
killed
it?
that Batman versus Superman dude.
What's that?
I said Axel Braun killed that Batman versus Superman dude.
I'm sure you did a great job. But the thing is like there's a lot of like these movies that these directors have like this grand, like in their industry, their movies have a story, they have a plot. Um, but it's just like there are like for me, I like narratives. Porn, whatever, I don't care. But if I were to watch porn, it would not be for the story. Okay, I have a friend of mine that is in the adult industry, and I think she was in one thing where there was a actual like it was a narrative, and in the movie she hooked up with a guy the night before, and she couldn't remember who the guy was. So now she's traveling around just hooking up with random dudes, hoping to God to find the one until she happens to find the one by walking in on her best friend sleeping next to her boyfriend, and the boyfriend's like, like hanging out of the bed. And she goes and she wakes him up with her mouth. And then they start going at it, and it's in every hole. I mean, I mean, this stuff I never like thought I'd see like this girl in. But so it's like that being the case, like I mean, it's even weird because she's a lesbian. But it it's a narrative, I guess. There's not a whole lot of acting involved. Like I mean, there's really not a whole lot at all. But I mean, like there are a lot of things, and Daniel just said Boogie Nights. There's a lot of things movies that touch on this stuff. Boogie Nights. You have what was it like the change up with Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman, where like you see Jason Bateman inhabiting Ryan Reynolds' body, and he goes to quote unquote act in the scene, and it is a softcore porn.
Zach and
Like
Miri.
Zach and Miri make a porno. Yeah, you have what was it, Lovelace, that discusses everything. But I mean, like these are actual like these are movies that like discuss like the older, I guess the older like adult industry films. They all had narratives. I mean, hell, I'd even like go so far as to say that heavy metal is borderline porn, and that's all animated. But I mean, like my whole point though is that porn these days there is no narrative. People try to say there's a narrative. It's like it's really just, and no, like no one watches porn for the story. like I guess if you're really bored and you're lonely, you're like, oh well, look, Alice in Borderland's on. I might as well watch this. Like, oh yeah, okay, watch it for the story.
Don't judge
You know,
me.
when she's pleasing the Mad Hatter with her mouth, and he climaxes. She's like, oh no, no, I'm sorry. He whips it out, and she's like, oh, that's strange. I've never seen one of those. He was like, you may kiss it if you like, and then gobble gobble time. And then when he does his thing, he's like, "Oh no, I broke it." He says, "You've done well." I'm like, oh, well, he's at least he's polite. I mean, like,
But did he sound like this? Don't you know?
oh no, no, he's got a he no, no. I will say the Mad Hatter had a very, very sultry voice. Um, it's just like one of those deals. It got really, really awkward with the Walrus and the Carpenter, though.
Oh my!
And then when Alice had to go defeat the Red Queen, like the Queen of Hearts, whatever she is. Yeah, that was yeah. The thing is, I was like, I've watched adult movies like that had narratives because I feel like what, I'll entertain myself. I watch all these like blockbusters and everything else. I watch independent films. Maybe it's just like an independent film. Yeah, it's an independent film. It's definitely low budget, but but no, like, but then when you have like the likes of like these movies that come out in theaters, like with Ghostbusters Afterlife, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, now that we're talking about like things that are not pornographic, go watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. It is awesome. I guess it's kind of pornographic because the
Stop it.
terror dogs have to consummate. The keymaster and the gatekeeper have to, you know, quote unquote, come together to bring about Gozer, the Gozerian. But yeah, I just
For someone that
I,
didn't
I
have a
I
whole lot
can't.
to say on the subject, you just went 12 minutes on it.
Well, because like it's just like I'm rambling because I'm not prepared for this, man. Like I mean, it's like if like again, if I'd known what we were going to talk about tonight, I would have had like talking points to try to break down my thoughts. You've known me for how many years? Like 10 years. Like you know me, man. Like when I'm talking about something, it's eventually I'll get to the point. I don't like that about myself. I need to work on that, but especially if it's something I'm not really. I don't know. If I don't have much to say on the matter, like I'm trying to find my point, I do it by talking. So
That's fair. This is a conversational podcast. We see where the conversation takes us. But with that being said, I'm going to have to put a pin in this so we can do sex part two at some point in the future. Uh, in the meantime, if people want to get, you know, more adult film suggestions from you, where can they reach you?
well, they can't. They will never get an adult film suggestion from me. But what they can do is you can follow me on Instagram, bjacksman82. WADcast is on Instagram. It's just like instagram.com/ the WADcast, or just type in the WADcast. Who cares? Just type in WADcast. You'll see the a little black circle with a white banner in it that says the WADcast in it. We post updates on there weekly, almost daily, almost. And you can also go follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/ the Wadcast, which is where, if you're hearing this on Facebook Live, you already follow us. So kindly disregard this message. But if you're new, then go ahead and check us out. We post weekly updates on there. We'll be posting more stuff on the Facebook page. And that's where you can find me. What about you, Josh?
It's weird because honestly, I used to have such a bigger spiel. That's what she said. And now that there really isn't all that much to plug, I have a hard time filling up this space with relevant material. But since I think I've bought enough time, just go to civicworkstudios.com. All of the links are there. The socials, the YouTubes, all of it. There's a merch shop. There's the Patreon. I'm not really, comfortable saying, "Give me $1, please." No, just if you like what you hear, maybe throw it on a buck, whatever. In the meantime, just go to simicorstudios.com where you will be able to find all of the relevant links and do all of the meaningful clicks to get you where you need to go to listen to more Cindycore Studio stuff. Now, with that being said, once you do find us, don't forget to do the relevant stuff like something about a like and smashing stuff and comments, ratings. I don't know. Just subscribe if you want to listen to more of us. And we are here every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific with more WADcast. Next week is episode number 70. We will have a very special guest. If Brandon had called me earlier, I'd be able to talk to him about it, but he's a very busy man. Works very hard for the money. He works hard for the money. So I guess that leaves us with our final thoughts. And spoilers, they're the same as they are every week. Each week I like to end the show with a message to you, the audience. Because if you're listening to a show like this, you either are in the industry or you want to be in the industry. And the thing is, no matter which one you are, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. That's right. No matter what it is you want to do when it comes to being creative, the only thing you have to do is do it. What do you want to be? You want to be a writer? Then write. If you want to be an actor, act. You don't need anybody's permission to do these things. You have the ability. You have the ability. Can't stress that enough. Everybody has a phone these days, right? Use it. Make your own art. And if more people get behind you, buy bigger things to make bigger art. But if you're still doing this in a couple years, still making your art with a phone, guess what? You're still making art. You're still being creative. And that matters too. So, for Brandon, I'm Josh. This has been the WADcast episode number 69. And we will catch you next week.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.